Welcome to Turn Down for What, your source for EV news and updates. Like and subscribe on YouTube for more content like this episode. Let's dive on in. Welcome back to Turn Down for What? Another day, another episode.
Yes, sir.
Today, we are excited to continue our conversation that we have had over the past few weeks about some of the exciting things that are happening within the Ford realm. I think the two topics that we'll kind of hit today was we can kind of give a brief highlight on the Mach-E announcement with
Yeah.
some of the updates that have come out of that. But secondly, we have the wonderful privilege of having Martin back from Martin Rebuilds in discussing our all now joint experience with now being a part of the Tesla network. So, with that being said, I think just for the sake of, yep, mine's in my truck. I have to go fetch it, but
You're bragging, Chris.
I have the
I know.
box here.
What? Yeah, I didn't bother
The
posting it
background
because
will
like 50 other people were posting about getting theirs, and I was like, I didn't want to add to that
It
chaos.
seems to jump
Yeah,
into it. It
throw
seems
you
like
in
the
the-
first 1,000 of people roughly have already gotten theirs. With the shipments, I'm curious to see how quickly they get everything else out.
My favorite is there's this guy on Facebook who I just love, who every time somebody would get a new Lightning, he would post this Klingon Star Trek meme
Dan?
that said, yes, yeah. I didn't want to use his name because, but yes. And Dan would shout out to Dan if he's listening, but he has this meme that he would just toss out there. It says, glory to you and your new Lightning. And I
Oh, I love it.
endlessly laugh. And then so today there was the one that said, glory to you and your new adapter. And I swear to God, I was laughing so hard that I couldn't even get to hit the emoji to laugh at it. It took me a solid 30 seconds to stop laughing. It was glorious.
Yeah. Well, yeah, everybody's talking about it now. It seems like the first wave of adapters are out, and all the Lightning nerdies that are nerdy enough to be on a forum like the Lightning groups that we're on. It seems like most of them are getting it or having updates about getting it, but very exciting development just because, network, especially, I mean, you guys over in California, Chris, and you and your whole crew that's listening. I love y'all, but y'all already have a network. Us over here in Tennessee, we're slum dogging it, and we don't have a diverse network. And so in our region, it's really opening up strategic points for us to charge. Now, one of the issues we have in Tennessee, at least, is several of the locations surrounding me directly are not the newer versions of the chargers enough to utilize the adapter. But there are several sites, which I visited one today, which we'll talk about, that was actually the newer version of the charger and had a great experience with it. So
yeah, I think my favorite part of that conversation this morning, that was this morning, right? My days all run together.
It was midday, but yes. Yeah.
Midday, yeah. Well, midday for you. But anyway,
yeah, that's true. Morning for you. That is correct. Yes.
And so I saw it was hilarious because I'm, out in California, it doesn't occur to you like how different the other states are. And so Josh is like, hey, I'm going to go test this charger. And was it Virginia? Is that where you went? Where did you go?
I mean, so I am in Eastern Tennessee.
State.
Yeah, I'm in Eastern Tennessee, at the tip of Eastern Tennessee, and the nearest Tesla charger is either an hour and a half down towards Gatlinburg in the Buc-ee's parking lot, or Bristol, Virginia, which is about 45 minutes north of me. But I was headed near that vicinity today for work. And so I said, I'm going to go the extra 20 minutes out of the way just to I had got my adapter yesterday. And so, basically I wanted to give it a test run so I could actually say that I've used it.
That is dedication, man. You are crossing state lines. That's interstate commerce. It's
Chris, when awesome. You got yours, how far did you travel to test out or to do the clips that you did?
5 minutes down the road.
That's just terrible.
Yeah, no, they're everywhere here.
Screw all of the Californians with all of your charging network.
Yeah, I've got
right there with you, Josh.
I've got one 5 minutes away from work, 5 minutes away from the house. And then I've got they're
yeah, that just sucks for y'all. That sucks bad. Jesse, I like your background. Good job. Look at you going from the office to the podcast.
Nice.
Speaking of the wonderful, for those who are watching us on YouTube, right here is our lovely redesigned logo by the wonderful Chris Bowen team. Who was it that designed it? If you want to give them a shout out.
Yeah, that was the head of the Lightning Club, the Midwest Lightning Club. Is that where he's at?
Sean designed that?
Kevin did it. Yeah. Is Kevin? No, Kevin's in Texas. Man, I need to get my geography right, man. I think Kevin's in Texas.
Head
Kevin
of a Lightning Club, and we appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
we've been working diligently to try to get something that's a little bit more modern and sleek, and that Chris can utilize for his cool frunk design.
Yeah, he did all the Lightning Club logos too. So I reached out to him, and he put it together for us.
Well, let us know what you think about the wonderful new logo.
Yeah,
see what you think.
Subscribe, leave a comment. If you like it, like and subscribe. If you don't like it, like and subscribe. Tell us all about it.
We are your source for EV news and updates. And also, I found out, Chris, do a little shout out for your own YouTube channel that you're doing here.
Oh yeah, Bo Family EV on YouTube, Bo Family on X. But I've been throwing up some videos there, and so I had one that I did with the Tesla Owners Club Silicon Valley, and it's got over like 70 or 80,000 views, which is easily the most I've had on one. And then it's just playing with it, still experimenting with some editing and throwing the logos in there and trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to maybe put some content on both the Turn Down for What and my own, and just kind of put it out there and just try to have fun with it, and see what happens. It's certainly an amateurish effort, but it's nonetheless fun to have there.
Hey, we're all EV enthusiasts, so nerding out to the next degree is completely acceptable by us.
Yeah. Amateurish is our middle name.
Yeah. Martin, give us a shout out for your YouTube page.
Oh yeah, I'm nowhere near the 80,000 that Chris is at, but
that's just views. That's not subscriptions, though. That's just one video got that many views.
I don't think I have 4,000 or 5,000 views yet. I'm just new at this as far as that goes. Martin Rebuilds on YouTube. So I've got, 8 or 9 videos, and going to be dropping another one hopefully tonight or tomorrow for this trip. I feel like I'm late to the party with this adapter. I should have done it a week ago when I got back, but things get busy and I didn't have time. So Martin Rebuilds on YouTube. That's pretty much. I'm on Facebook a little bit, but I honestly haven't started Instagram or any of that yet. So
it's a lot to manage it. I mean, I was trying to, we got this logo updated, and I was trying to actually figure out all the places that we had accounts, and it's too much to manage. I mean, there's accounts everywhere. But yeah, anyways, well, subscribe to Bo Family EV and Martin Rebuilds on YouTube, and Turn Down for What podcast if you're listening and have not subscribed yet. But anyways, to continue the conversation. So obviously this seems like the first roughly 1,000 people. I've not seen anybody with an order number over 1,000 having gotten theirs. Mine, I think, Chris, I sent it to you. I think I was like 370 and you were like 368 or something like that. Yeah. Jesse, do you know what number you were? You said you looked it up, like 700.
I was at 496.
And Martin was on like
Martin was 2717.
Martin's got another month to go to get his back.
I do. It's making me sick because I had that for a week and got a taste of it. 23 Tesla superchargers I stopped at on this trip, and now I can't stand not having.
They made you send it back?
Well, I had to. It was the pre-production unit. I mean, Chris was helpful enough to get it to me, so I thought I should, not steal it from him.
Yeah, I thought you might have the luxury of being able to keep that model, but it was.
I was hoping, but they wanted it back, so that's cool.
Well, you'll get yours hopefully before too long.
Yeah, hopefully. It says May. We'll see. I'm 2717, and I haven't seen anybody in the over 1,000 like you said yet. But
well, if you need it, let me know. Between Josh and I can send you mine, and you can send me yours when you get it. So if you got another road trip you got to make, just let us know.
I'll let you know. I hope not. I've got so much work to do now. But
here's the thing about it: there is a Hummer EV crashed in Phoenix, Arizona. So I think that's her next deal, and it is the SUV version, and it looks like just some light front damage. So I think that's your next project.
Go pick up a Hummer.
Go tow that all the way from Arizona.
Yeah, I could. I've been there, done that, but
now
I'll have some news on the next. I think maybe we'll see coming up here.
Oh, there's something right there.
So
Yeah.
I will start by kind of highlighting my brief experience, and then we'll let Martin kind of dive into his much more expanded experience with the charger. But yes, I got my adapter yesterday, and so today in my travels I was deciding to give it a shot. And so I drove out to Bristol, Virginia. I arrived with like 45% state of charge, so I didn't even really technically have to get it. I was like 48, 49%. But I plugged up. I went ahead and signed up because I have a couple road trips coming up in the next couple weeks that I'm going to use the Tesla network just to experiment with it. But I went ahead and signed up for the Tesla subscription service for cheaper kilowatts because that usually returns itself in a trip or two. But the power cost for me locally went down to 39 cents per kilowatt, which in the realm of charging, that's not astronomical for our region. I've seen some Electrify Americas have some stupid low pricing, but on average, if you're advertising regular rates, that's usually what you're seeing is 35 to 39 cents. So with the subscription service, which EA has the same subscription service, this was obviously $5 more a month than EA, but 39 cents. And I plugged up and pretty much immediately was getting the peak of what the truck would receive, which was right around the 175 to 180 mark. I went up to 178 state of charge for about probably 5 to 8 minutes, and then it trickled down into the 160s. But based on the charging curve, that's very traditional to what I've experienced with my Lightning. Just once I got over 60%, it went into the 150s, and as I approached 70%, it was down in the 130s, which is about what I usually see for charging curve. But it performed very well. The adapter worked great. There was no hiccups with connection. It was very simple and easy to get to. That charging unit, which I will attach a photo of here, was empty at the time. And, it was just, I pulled up. I did have to get creative with the way that they spaced those chargers. They had a handicap spot that didn't have a charger in front of it. And so I pulled my truck all the way up to the curb on that one. That way I could take the access to the truck directly, but it worked out spectacularly for connection. I was only there for like 20 minutes. It's probably like 15 minutes even. But overall, at the end of the session, it was 11-minute session, got 27 kilowatts delivered, cost me $10. And first experience with the Tesla network went very smoothly, and definitely a huge addition because that's the closest supercharger to me now is that one. So
yeah, I had similar experience with that first 10 minutes. Of course, it takes whatever your pack voltage is, and it just boosts it up there and gives you a good little hit. And the short range doesn't get nearly the boost that you guys get with your extended, but it still got up there at 168, I think is the top that I saw, which is easily the highest that I've ever seen. I've never seen that from an EA. Not that it's not capable of it. It's just
I would love, because Rivian now has the same network opening, I would love to plug a Rivian up and actually see their charge curve with a Tesla, because they can actually receive more. The units I was at dispense 250, but I would be really curious to see somebody with a Rivian plug up and see what their charge curve experience is.
That's all over that race ocean. That third video, you'll see them a lot. They were seeing over 200, 220, 215 at the supercharger V3s.
And there's a lot of, with the Silverado, for example, even if it had access to the Tesla network, they would have been better off at the EAs and the other, because the Tesla ones can't supply enough to, for that, or, even the Cybertruck, the way they were wrapping their handle to keep it cool. One case, it would, like, they were pouring water on the cable, and it would steam up instantly. And I was like, wow.
And that's really what V4 is trying to correct. Am I correct in saying that? I mean, the V3s are fine for the Tesla models until the Cybertruck. And then the Cybertruck kind of revolutionized that game, where I think the Cybertruck experience is going to mandate better infrastructure, which V4 resolves, but also some of the other charging stations with the appropriate, connectors being attached to, going to be able to provide a better charging experience there.
What'd you see across your journey there, Martin, when you were going across? And
totally
tell
different.
Us everything.
No kidding. So 22 different chargers. I actually had 23 Tesla chargers. One of them I had to move. So we stayed everywhere from Arkansas all the way to Jacksonville, North Carolina. It was the most consistent charging speeds I've ever seen. I get a 10-minute boost of 164, and it was 164 every single time. So consistently lower than EA, EVgo on all of my charging stops. I get
Interesting.
10 minutes, and it was dropping down in the 105 to 110 range. So, and I thought maybe it was just a particular charger. Sometimes they're busy, you know, you get that boost sharing from between the different stations. But I was at a lot of stations where I was the only guy there, and like the Tesla guys, I'm trying to space out. I'm trying to stay away off of, you know, if there's another one on 1A, I'm trying to not get on 1D. But
in theory, you shouldn't have to do that with these,
I
because
know.
they share a common DC bus bar. So
They
it's
do,
not like
they do.
the
But
level
if you get,
twos or
but if you
the
get four
the
of them
V2s.
plugged in on one station, all boosting at that first at the beginning, you're gonna be lower. But I never saw it. Not one
Yeah.
time. Madison, Georgia was a really, really busy one, basically Atlanta, and it was full, and I still saw 164. So we never had a reduction of speed on that boost cell that boost cycle like I thought I would. But I paid as little as 19 cents in, where was that? Like, I've got my sheet up here, Douglasville, Georgia. So really cheap, and as high as 36 cents. And I was on the $12.99 package. At 100% saved me so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I just got back from a trip a couple of months ago to Texas. Didn't have this, obviously, this network, and we were running EA or whatever we could find, and it cost $200 more on the Texas trip than it would have been a gas trip. This
For those
trip,
that don't know, real quick though, maybe they missed the first episode, and shame on you guys for missing that. Go back, watch
and
it
listen
again.
to it. Yeah.
Yes. Tell the folks, like, why were you out there going to so many chargers? Like, just give
so
kind
this
of
trip, I should start there. So this trip, we started our channel like 6 months ago, and right after I started it, posted the first video. His name's Joe. He's from North Carolina. He contacted me and wrecked his Lightning. The insurance is messing him around. They're not going to pay for the truck, and he doesn't really know what to do. So he's stuck with a truck that he can't drive, and it's the Ford dealer's telling him it's at least $50,000 is totaled. We don't want him to fool with it. So he contacted me back in November and said, "Hey, what can you do to help me? I don't know what to do. I see you're building these." And really, honestly, the only guy building them that's hit harder than just an insurance company wants to fix for a local, you know, like Chris, you said you had one on yours. They don't want to go past that. Number one, they're scared of it. Number two, it gets really expensive on the Lightning. Like I said last time, my cost on a front bumper is $4,000. So it gets really expensive. So he contacted me. We made a deal and ran out there and picked up his truck and bringing it back, and we're going to build it on the channel and then get it back. He's going to fly in, it sounds like, and pick it up and take it home. And the guy is just, you'll have to watch the video when it drops. We have like a 6-minute interview with his wife. It's really emotional. He's been through hell and back with his family. He's been 3 tours in the Marines, so he's a retired Marine, disabled vet now. I don't want to give it all away, but it's going to be an interesting story. This first video, I was really planning on it being more documentary about the Tesla network and doing that, but it kind of turned into a storyline for his truck. So there's quite a bit of Tesla adapter stuff in there. But you know, that's a fad right now. A year from now, nobody's going to care anything about that. It's going to be old news. So I'm going to leave it as a story. But yeah, so drove out. I was trying to make this trip about Tesla superchargers. You know, when I left, I wanted to only use Tesla network the whole way, especially because I got that adapter. You know, Chris was kind enough to contact Ford and they hooked me up. So we were able to most of the trip. There's a few spots coming back where I went, you know, kind of around through Augusta, Georgia. There's no Tesla supercharger V3s that are on the system, that I had to stop at an EA. And just like I expected, EA was faster. It did cost me more money. I usually see 175 to 180. I think as high as 181 on EA, and it usually holds till 50 or 60% to 165, and then it drops to about 125. So
the Tesla one should do the same thing.
I know.
It's interesting that you didn't see that.
Yeah, and not on one charger, 23 of them, and all of them were 164 on the money, and I just didn't have to worry about it. Honestly, I don't care about a few extra kilowatts because I plug it in and we go inside. I didn't even worry. After the first few, it was over. We just left.
Reliability goes a long way.
The big thing I've noticed about Tesla's network is it's usually positioned way better for the driver than a lot of the other chargers. This is not a Walmart parking lot. This is, in the
Yeah.
parking lot of a shopping center that you actually want to go in, or
Yeah.
in the parking lot of a mall or a restaurant, or some of these places that are actually good destinations. And so that's definitely a better, in my
It's an
opinion, better
added
experience.
value.
Yeah.
Always an added value.
Yeah,
do you
we
have a,
had
Tesla's at
we had to unhook
Buc-ee's.
the trailer like
Yeah.
I think 6 or 7 times on those 23 charges. You know, and a couple of them just because it was busy. If they hadn't been busy, I wouldn't have had to. I mean, they're always set up where I just pull in and I can find an in one. The most stations I had to block was 3, but that was because I was on the end and it was a pull through style. We never did that whole crossways, block all the chargers thing. Even the ones when it's not busy, I can usually maneuver the truck to be able to try to be somewhat courtesy, you know, to the other drivers.
do you
That's
have a
one of
sense
the things
for,
that just has to be in future charging installs, is we have to begin to install networks for trucks with trailers, because that is such, I mean, it made sense when Tesla, Model Y is the only thing on the road and you can just back up and charge, and that's cool. But there's new deployments happening where it's still pull up to the curb and charge. And Tesla now with Cybertruck and with all the other networks having every other provider having a truck like Chevy and Ford and all these, it's very, very narrow minded to be deploying any charging network by any provider, whether you're EA or otherwise, that doesn't have that consideration. That's been a mandate for us with our charging network, was it has to be a pull through setup, because, in what world is somebody going to want to sign up for a truck? Because really you can charge and tow, but the idea of having to pull up to a charging station, unhook your trailer, charge, rehook your trailer, and go 120 to 150 miles to do it again is insane. And that's for the future of the network. Tesla now has Cybertruck. They have towing capacity. They have to.
Well, and they're going to
figure out
have to do something. The Ford, I love my truck because it's on the left front fender. Everybody talked about the cables being short. Not one of my charging stops where the cable's too short that I even felt like it was stressed. They were all, you could pull up, the bollards were all gone on all the stations that I pulled into. So I was able to pull all the way up. For instance, the Chevy and the Cybertruck, it's on that rear side. You have to hook the trailer almost on all those stops. And with my truck, I don't have to.
And that's where with pull through, you can pull right beside it. And no matter where it's located, it's fine. But this whole pull up to the station with a truck like a Cybertruck on the rear fender, that's just, there's no way to actually tow with a truck, which you'd figure that would be a commodity that would be offered. So charging station providers have to be aware of that.
And then that's a good point, Josh, because a lot of the Tesla stations now you can with, EAs, I almost always have to unhook from an EA because they're in a Walmart parking lot. I mean, or something that's similar, and it's busy and there's still a lot of people. The best one I stopped at, I love the Tesla network because it was so consistent, but the best, there's a Flying J with the GM Energy in Joplin, Missouri now. And it looked like a gas station, beautifully lit up, pull through. It looked like a truck diesel, pull through. And there was four 350s, EVgo 350s. And I thought, well, it's going to be on the, it was 58 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. It was so nice to be able to pull through. And so it'll be
we have one of those in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we stopped and did it. But I did it and it was fun and it was a cool experience. And then my bill was $50, and I said, I'm not coming back. I'm just going to go to the EA and figure it out, because EA is $12 and Pilot was 60, and it's like that's not the driving experience I want.
Supply and demand. When they start figuring out that they're going to have to lower their prices to be competitive, they'll do that. But right now, they were the only charger in the area that's worth stopping at, so I didn't have a choice.
But that setup is what the industry needs. Make it to where it's a similar experience. The problem I've had is some of the EA stations that we've visited even have pull through, but it's in the middle of 4 parking spots. So if you have a trailer, your butt's still going to be sticking way out in the middle of a throughway, and that doesn't even work. So it is still pull through, which helps a little bit. But if you have a long load outside of a real short trailer, you're still not going to have that convenience, depending on the location of the charger.
Now, how was when you were driving out, you're driving out with an empty trailer, and then you're driving back with a full one, obviously. And so how many charges was it going out versus coming back? And
I think we had 10 going out and like 13 or 14 coming back. 12 22 Tesla stops, and there was like 4 or 5 others. Like I have a spreadsheet here that I went through, and I tried to drop it on the page, but it's on the Facebook page, but it's 1.3 mile per kilowatt hour pretty consistently with my 20-foot flatbed. Of course, it's a big 6-inch channel heavy trailer. It's a 20-foot, it's fully loaded with winches and everything. And then we got right at, if I run 65 mile an hour, which I don't, I got 1.0 coming back with that Lightning on. We saw as low as 0.7. It averaged around 0.85 to 0.9 because I tried to keep the speed at 75.
So you're averaging 100 miles of charge.
100 miles of charge coming back every time.
Man.
And it wears on you because you're 100 miles, well, an hour and 20 minutes, and then you're stopping for 45. So
yeah,
long drive. Everybody asked me, like at work, they were talking about, why did you do that? Just why didn't you take your gas truck? Number one, because I'm an advocate. I love the Lightning. Number two,
the fun in that?
I didn't hurt. I got out of the truck Sunday night at, I think it was midnight when we got home, and I went to work Monday morning and I wasn't hurting.
Yeah.
You know, forcing us to get out is a good thing for the human body.
Yeah. Now, what was the total weight of your load? I mean, obviously the Lightning weighs 7,000 pounds.
Yeah, 7. I think the trailer is going to weigh 3,500 pounds. I didn't.
You were right at the max limit for the technical.
Well, technically, the Ford's going to rate it at that because they're going to CYA. But I can tell you right now, that truck will pull way more than that.
I've seen it pull 15,000 pounds up a hill and not even overheat. So I'm sure it could do much more. But
just like everything else, it's not the pulling that you look for; it's the stopping. And I will
what?
say, when I first got that vehicle, I did drive it like a nut, because I was like, let's see what this thing can do. And you quickly realize that and I don't know this for a fact, but I do not believe the rotors and the brakes on that truck are very, very beefy. I think that the actual deceleration program that's in it, that I always use a one pedal for regen.
Yep.
I think it relies on that a lot, because I was able to heat the brakes up going down the backside of a mountain fairly quick, and it was a switchback mountain, very wide road, so I could drive it like I shouldn't have, and I could tell I had a lot of brake fade as I got about a quarter way through it. So it's not designed with carbon ceramic brakes, but that's what you always got to worry about. It's not the pulling as much as it is the stopping.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I don't even have trailer brakes on my trailer, and I'm not going to hook them up. I don't need it. The truck will. I don't know about yours, but I can shut it down easier than I can my diesel. It just has so much weight and so much grip that I don't. And the brakes, when you look at them, I've had several of them apart because I've had these trucks apart. They look like 3/4 ton brakes to me.
Interesting.
They're heavy. It's a 2-piston caliper, and the rotors are super thick. When you have that whole assembly off in your hands, it's heavy.
So that's just Jesse being Jesse, man.
Yeah, that's just Jesse being a nut.
Yeah, Jesse was just on the brakes.
With the trailer on, what's your experience like? Do you still use regen in that situation?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, but if you put it in tow mode, regen doesn't work, right?
No, it works. It works, but it's just not as aggressive. Sport mode is the most aggressive, but I don't like switching it every time we stop, all 554 stops I had to make.
I wish you could permanently change it to that mode.
Me too, but I just ended up leaving it normal after I run it in tow mode for a while because it has regen, but it's not as aggressive. But I just kept tired of switching it back, so we just left it in normal. I just run it in normal. It seems to be about the same.
Do you see that you're still using your brakes, or does the regen itself help slow the trailer down pretty significantly?
The regen will stop the trailer if you're being a good driver and you stop ahead of time. You know how when you first get your Lightning, you have to learn that distance. I put a game in my head that I don't ever want to hit the brakes, so I let off enough time to get stopped. Well, that distance extends and it messes with you when you have a trailer on. So I try to play that same game, but there are times when I have to hit the brakes. But I bet I didn't hit the brakes 20 times the whole trip.
Statistically, how much farther do you think the stop curve is with a 10,000 pound load?
I think it's
Like
probably
30%?
40-50% more. Yeah.
Okay.
It's more, but it still stops you. You know, if you pull up an on ramp and you're a little too fast, you hit the brakes for a second. I've never worried that they're overheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drive around all the time, and I don't think I think most of my driving experience, 99% of the time, I'm never touching the brakes. Unless somebody pulls in front of me or a light turns yellow that I'm not expecting, then I'm actually applying the brakes, but I never actually have to use the brakes in that system.
It's a fun side effect, that one pedal drive. And here's my takeaway from it. I love it that I don't have to move my foot back and forth. That's first world problem, but we don't get brake dust. I used to fight brake dust so much. I'd go to the carbon ceramic brakes and slotted rotors to be able to keep that down. And now I just don't ever have it. When I clean my wheels, the front and rear, there's no difference.
And it's just one less maintenance item about an EV that you don't have to worry about. Literally the only thing I'm coming up on with 35,000 miles on my truck is tires for the first time. And
I just did it at 35 too, Josh.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I probably could get another 5 to 10,000 maybe out of mine. But Jesse drove like a maniac and had changes at like 20,000 miles.
Like a maniac.
Yes, you just admitted on this channel like 5 minutes ago that you drove like a maniac.
That was one time. That was one time.
Yes. So just let me just summarize real quick. 35,000 miles from the two of you guys on your tires.
Yep.
And Jesse who changed his at 17 and heated up his brakes, even though 19 and overheated his brakes, that Martin is saying is like a 3/4 ton pickup brake. So I'm just saying either your speedometer is not calibrated right, or you're maybe
if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck.
I am the only one in this call here that has ever driven with Jesse and had Jesse as the driver. And I've done it one time and it's never happened again.
Well,
so with that being the case, I will attest to the fact that his tires needed to be changed at 19,000 and his brakes probably did overheat. But,
getting back to the trip.
For my truck, I have driven 35,000 miles and I've only ever rotated the tires and topped off my windshield wiper fluid. No other maintenance on the horizon, and I will change my tires probably by 50,000 miles.
Been over 55 miles an hour. He took it to bingo back and forth on the weekends only. So
hey, I do have a question for you guys.
The truck go ahead.
Do you guys the factory hand cooks? I've seen a lot of people wearing the outside and inside edges off. Like when I changed my tires at 37,000 miles, the outsides were damn near bald. The inside, I probably still had 45% tread. Do you guys have that same experience?
Yes.
Are those all-terrains, the hand cooks? I've got general grabbers.
The grabbers are, that's what's on this truck I brought back, and they're a little more efficient. I kind of wish I'd have went with those. If I'm replacing
mine, do you have a recommendation of what you feel like would be the best for the EV truck?
You know, it's hard to say. I know that Jace has mentioned quite a bit about that Goodyear tire. I went with a Turos on mine, and I know it's kind of an off-brand. Nobody's heard of it, because it was $600, less than $600 for 4. They're load rated for the truck, and they don't get any worse mileage than my hand cooks did. I've had them on there for 4,000 or 5,000 miles now. But if I was doing it again and wanted a great tire, I'd buy that new Michelin.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
But it's an 80,000 mile tire, but it's $1,300 for a set of tires, and I'm going to wear them out anyway. So I thought, and I've been running these Arturos now for a while on my side-by-sides, on my trailers. I love them. They're a good tire, but nothing's going to beat a Michelin as far as longevity.
What's with the Michelin though? Because with these tires, it's like longevity is important too, but I also value the quietness. Yeah. So like, are they quiet and efficient? And so which Michelin is that for folks that want to look into that? And
the Michelins are quiet. The hand cooks are quiet. The general grabbers obviously are. My Arturos are the exact same noise level that the original hand cooks are. So
hand cooks are. Which Michelin are they looking for? Because there's like
it's that new Michelin. I knew you were going to ask me that.
I'm looking for it now.
It's brand new that just came out like September, but it looks like the older Michelin. I want to say the AT2 or something, but it's a kind of a highway all-terrain looking tread. It's not a real aggressive tread.
Is it specific they're like to
305 apiece. Yeah, they're EV tuned.
Okay.
I was like, because I mean, I've been semi-researching because the time's approaching, and I want to make sure. I mean, I'm not the crazy aggressive driver that needs anything crazy, but having the ability to get a good long-standing tires, because EV tires just is a different consideration altogether. And so, I definitely am going to be doing that research.
I thought that too. I did, like you, Josh, I did hundreds of hours of research on tires, just scoured the forums trying to figure out, hey, what's the best tire, and went with these. When I replace my tires, I'm getting the Arturos back on, and they don't say EV rated. They don't have rolling resistance ratings. They have a 50,000 mile warranty. For the money, I'm like, I don't need. It's no different of a tire. But anyway,
interesting. Yeah,
I think mine will make it to 50, and I'll be done with my my factory set.
you won't be wrong with about whatever you put on. They don't have to be EV rated to be a good mileage tire.
Yeah.
Just don't buy a mud tire.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
looking back on when you got the truck that you took across the country here,
Uh-huh.
after you got to look at it, how much is it more work than you expected, less work? And then the second follow-up to that, is there going to be a somewhere where people can donate to kind of help him out if he's in that situation?
You know, that's a great point. I think after this first trip, I thought about doing something like that. In fact, Chris, I was going to hit you up, and because I know you're kind of in that world, and I don't know that these folks are broke. Okay, she does well. They live on the coast. They're moving to Florida here now, but it's still a tough spot to be in to lose, you know, a lot of money on your truck. When I first got there, he had sent me pretty good pictures of it, and so it looks exactly like I thought. But when people see it, they're going to think, wow, that thing is destroyed, because it's hit down the right side, starting in the rear door and all the way down the bed. The tire's leaning in probably 30 degrees. It broke the lower control arm. So it was what I thought. The cab corners hit a little harder than what I thought. So we are contemplating right now, do we want to put a new cab on the truck just for ease and cleanliness, or we're going to try to fix the one that's there. Either way is going to be a good option. It all boils down to cost and time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's daunting for somebody who isn't familiar the way you are and hasn't done as many vehicles as you have. From externally, when I think about that, I'm like, ah, man, how do you even take that on? But as you start to look at these, and you've torn these Lightnings apart, aside from, of course, the motor train and frame, but when you start looking at what you're talking about, the cab, the doors, I mean, does it just feel familiar in terms of when you're repairing and fixing these things?
Yeah, it's just F-150.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, the part number is actually different on the cab. The entire front clip is completely different. It's new part numbers, but it bolts together in the same structure, the same way that an F-150 does. You know,
Yeah.
the grill may have a few different areas for screws or a different way it attaches, but it has that Ford engineered feel.
Mhm.
Everything on the truck just feels F-150, and I'm so used to that after 30 years of building. So none of it, they didn't go outside the box and get real crazy until you get down to the battery and the drivetrain. And even that, you guys, you may have saw my video where we pulled the battery out. It takes about an hour and the battery's out of the truck.
Yeah, it's not much to it, man. I was, fortunate to be able to see mine get dropped. Not fortunate that I had it fail, but fortunate that I got to really nerd out on seeing it. I was shocked at just how well it is done. And a lot of, I think a lot of people underappreciate from a fleet transportation aspect. As someone that, with FedEx, we have a lot of fleet vehicles, and when you think of how they're used in the trades, this ability to go out and repair these, being that it's not a unibody, being that it doesn't have this like bespoke aspect to it, it is very familiar. And when you drop those battery packs down and you open it up, and it's just that it's 9 modules, and they're either the small modules or the big modules, but there's 9 of them, and you can just change out a module, and there's so yeah, that's
I'm looking forward to that day. I'm going to video. Mine will eventually, I hope it never does, because they're about $5,000 a module now. But if it does, I'm going to do it myself, and that'll be a video.
5,000 a module. Now, is that all in, including the
no,
like the so that's just the module. You still have to
yeah,
have
that's my cost too. If retail is probably more like 7,500 a module. So you got to get the paste, and you got to get that template, and you got to get a new cooling pad underneath one of the modules.
Yeah,
it's not difficult, but if I drive my truck mine's still showing 100% state of health at 45,000 miles. And I check the cell references voltages quite a bit on each module inside the cells, and they're all perfect. If it ever goes though, I'm going to do it and just jump in and do it. Because I even if it quit me now, if I have a $4,500 bill or $5,000 bill at 50,000 miles, it averages out the same as a gas. And I enjoy the truck so much, I don't care.
And that's for those that are listening, maybe and don't necessarily know, because of the accident and because of rebuilding these things, the 8-year 100,000-mile warranty is no longer in place.
So now it is on Joe's truck, because his truck is clean. Yes, it was never totaled. His truck is not totaled. The insurance didn't pay off on it. So when we get it done, he'll have all the warranty and stuff on his truck. The other two, my 22 and my 23, no, there's no warranty. I do have the recall for that battery energy control module that we've all done. And so I think it's till the end of this year. If I have a module that goes bad, they're going to take care of it till then. But past that, I'm on my own.
Yeah, that's it. That's just a good. And we talked about this with Winston, and his Tesla experience is very similar. So that's just for those that aren't familiar. It's just kind of a good thing to know when it comes to one of those that rebuilds.
Yep. Yep.
Very
So
cool.
how much of your journey do you feel like was, because you kind of touched on it, right? That you have the price difference and you have the speed difference, and the speed's kind of negligible. Because in my experience, when it comes to this whole idea of kind of converting folks over from gas to electric, so much of the advantage I feel like is the peace of mind. And I know with my trip to Southern California was a hot mess, and definitely don't have the peace of mind to bring my family down on that kind of journey. But the Tesla network was just a reassuring, I'm going to pull into 8, 12, 16, 20, not 4 in the back of a Walmart. And maybe it is a little bit slower in some cases. It won't be probably from mine having a standard range, but how much of your trip was made easier just having the reassurance that you're going to have that adapter?
I want to say all of it, except for the areas where there weren't Tesla. And
Yeah.
we got caught one time where I thought we were going to be in trouble in Conway, Arkansas. So we left Brinkley, Arkansas, and wanted to make a run past Little Rock because Little Rock's busy. I've been to the EA in Little Rock before. There's no Tesla network right there in Little Rock. It's outside of there on either side. And so we left and went to Conway and was planning on charging at a 62 kilowatt charger that was at a Hyundai dealer, and it gave me 22.
Wow.
And there's a brand new Ford charger, the 350s, that are going in across the street that weren't turned on yet. So that was I shouldn't say the whole experience, but that was part of the experience that we missed. Charger anxiety pulling into a Tesla supercharger, I had zero. And we had 2 chargers that were broken. One at a hotel out in the middle of Gwen, Alabama, that the first one on the end, that pull-through style, they always put one off to the side on the end. It didn't work, and I had just nose up to the second one, and I was good. And then we had one, I think it was in like, I want to say somewhere in Alabama, that there was 8 chargers, 4 of them were broken. And there was Tesla's waiting. There was a Model X sitting in one of the good ones that the car was broken down. His 12-volt battery died. And so you may have seen it on Facebook. I just pulled around on the backside between the cabinet up on the grass and plugged into the charger that he was in.
Yeah,
and
I saw that
all over Facebook in Atlanta. I think we were in Atlanta. But yeah, I had zero charger anxiety at all. Now, range anxiety on this trip, I had it planned out pretty well, but that's still a thing. Like you said, Chris, if you're going to travel across the country and you're going to tow, you better have a lot of patience to do it with a Lightning right now.
Yep.
Which brings me up, before we run out of time, what I said I had something planned, and you guys are gonna hate me, but I put a deposit this week on a Rev.
Oh, the Rev. I was wondering if you were to say Silverado, but
No,
you're going
I'm not
Rev.
a Chevy fan. I'm not.
Okay.
I like the Silverado. I saw that, but I want the 500-mile range.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, if I'm picking between Dodge and Chevy, it's edged out to Dodge, but not by much. And the reason I did that is when they delayed the T3 till 2020, I'm going to say it's 2027. They didn't officially say when, but it's probably 2027 because they're focusing on hybrids. When they delayed the T3, that did it for me, because I'm hoping that the Rev will be out the end of this year. So that's the big news. I put a deposit on the Rev, and we're going to see how that goes.
Martin, if it helps, I have an earlier reservation that you probably can keep, because I'm looking for.
You're not going to do it.
Well, I probably will end up doing something else, but I put a reservation in like 6 months ago. So
yeah, and I don't know. It's just I don't know when they open, if it goes in that order too on the Dodge side, or if they're just going to open it. You have to get in right then, like Cybertruck.
I want Jesse's GMC order that he has for the
Denali.
Denali,
right?
the Yukon Denali, the EV, because it looks very sharp. And then I'll give you my Dodge if it comes up sooner. That way we can.
Well, I love that RST.
Spaces.
I love that RST. They took that one from Vegas to Phoenix at 460 miles and never stopped. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that the GMC is obviously probably operating off a relatively similar platform, but I guess we'll see how that performs.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is,
Silverado.
I'm already thinking about trying to put a 60-watt Tesla battery in the bed of my truck. I actually reached out to Jim Califan this week to see if he wanted to help. I hadn't heard back, but I really want to put a 60-watt Tesla battery in the bed of my truck, tie in the cooling, tie in the charging. But that's not the fix, because we still need 800-volt architecture to charge faster. Yep. My trip was fine stopping every 2 to 3 hours, going an hour and a half coming back. It's those 45-minute stops that kill me. And coming back, we had to charge longer and deeper. a lot of my stops were 90, 95% because the next run is, you know, they've got Teslas about 100, 125 miles apart. So that's max range for me. And if I had that rev at 250, it would have cut my trip time down. You know, that trip over there's 20 hours. It took us 30.
Yeah.
And coming back with 34.
And then the better architecture for quicker charging is something that's going to, I mean, we've preached it time and time again. Speed of charge and range is going to be massively important, mixed in with affordability, obviously, but it doesn't necessarily have to be 200 kilowatt battery packs, but you need to be able to charge your 150 kilowatt battery pack in 20 minutes and not 40 minutes, which is the only reason I would look to trade the Lightning is because the charge speed. I don't really, the 320 range doesn't really bother me with my drives that I do because I don't go across the country, but I have to stop for 45 minutes to charge from basically 0 to 80. And newer vehicles, Rivians and some of the other ones getting 250. It's like, it's just, Ford was protecting, I think, the earlier models, but the new models have to have more range and efficiency, but also just quicker charging speeds, or else it's just something that it's discouraging, especially for the towing situation, because charging speeds every 100 miles for 40-minute stops, that's just a nightmare.
It was brutal.
And it's easy to sit here and throw stones too in that situation. You got to remember, you know, the Tesla Cybertruck was something that was, you know, 4 years to create. Ford came out and said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing." They brought it to market, and here it is. And I've not had a problem with mine. So,
and I'm going to tell you, it's just as good as a Cybertruck. You watch that; they don't run any farther, and they don't get any better mileage pulling, and the charge speed's faster, but not a ton.
And see, that's why I don't really care much about. That's why I told Josh if he wanted the GMC or any of the ones I had, because I'm just happy with my Ford. And then I'm looking at this going, do I really want to pay for that Cybertruck? Do I really want to give up that money for a Cybertruck? And I'm, you know, I would love to have that beast, but at the same time, you know, I've already got one like that. The Ford is extremely quick. It does everything that I'd ever want it to do. So it also puts me in a situation of, if I'm going to upgrade, what am I going to upgrade to? And that's kind of where you're looking at that 500 range for that. I guess it's, and it's a hybrid, but still it's a different.
No, not that one.
No,
that's
you're
Ram
talking
Charger.
about the other one.
Yeah, I intentionally do not want a Ram Charger because I don't want to pay for 2 full systems. You're paying for a full gas system and a full electric, and it's only 100
going to happen.
Range. I want the electric power. If I wasn't towing, I'd stick with my Lightning. I don't need it anymore because you're running 3 hours and then you can stop. But I want the rev. I want the full electric.
Yeah, and you know, and it looks good too. I mean, it turned out looking good. So it's going to be interesting to see what the battles turn out being too, because you can remember anytime you see the fights going on, is this going to be the next fight? Is it going to be Dodge, Chevy, and Ram once again? Who has the best EV? And anytime that happens, the consumer wins.
But I think that when you look at it right now, like Silverado is just the work truck right now. Rev, we haven't even sniffed Rev.
Nope.
And you know, I'm really curious to see what happens with Cybertruck. Cybertruck to me is the canary in the coal mine, right? Because and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I really feel like where it's at now, whether it's 80,000, 100,000, 110, 120, whatever, depending on what spec you have, that is too high. Like when I look historically at the Model S, the Model X, Cybertruck, the Lightning high trims, right? All those things that are in excess of $60,000, $70, $80, $90, $100,000 vehicles, they don't sell more than about 60,000 a year. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a Porsche Taycan out there or something, but I can't, maybe I'm misremembering here. But as far as I know, these aren't 100,000 plus selling volume vehicles. There is a ceiling on the amount of people that have that type of disposable income and for whom that fits. So I really do feel like Ford is not poorly positioned if they can get the dang price where it ought to be. And, you know, the Mach-E just sold a ton, and it's because they dropped the pricing, and the Lightning just sold a ton Q1 because they dropped the pricing. And I think that is the problem for Ford right now. And I think that is why they kind of pulled the reins back, because they realized the way to move them is at a certain price that they currently cannot manufacture at profit. And so
it's the pickle. Yeah.
It is.
I mean, it's the largest, I mean, I've said this before, the largest selling vehicle in the world is the Model Y. Why? Because it's the cheapest EV on the road. And I had I had a family member reach out and was asking about, buying a Tesla, and they're like, we're looking at the Model Y because they have
Great vehicle.
it's a great
Yep.
vehicle, but even now they have discounts even below what they're
Yes.
like the ones that are made. They're having $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 discounts. Then you get the tax credit, and you're getting a brand new EV. The long range, I think you get for like $35,000, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's about right.
We
you
just
can't
bought a
beat
Tesla
that.
Model 3 about a month ago for my daughter to drive to school.
Mhm.
Bought an X Hertz car. It's a 22 long range. Gave 20 grand out the door for it, and I
Yeah.
think she's going to be great for commuting because she can charge at home.
So that's where they're really going to be the test bed here. If Cybertruck is getting, I think, towards the end of their foundation series. I think that's pretty much where I feel. I feel bad for. Who's the last foundation series guy that drops the money and the next day it's 20 grand less? There's some other extras that come with it and whatnot, but someone's going to be that last foundation series guy. But I do think then they're going to sell them at the 80s. Then I think a year from now they're going to drop it down to into the 50s and 60s. And if they can sell 100,000 of them for 50, 60,
Which is
65,000.
it's kind of the pickle that we face with our Lightning is I
Same
paid,
thing.
Right.
80 for my extended range, but now you can go to certain lots
65,
and get
67. Yeah.
64,
I got 62 in
65.
a rebuilt title.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
new,
ouch.
new
I
with
was
new,
expecting to sell it for 70 when I built it because they were bringing 84.
yeah,
Yeah.
new with discounts, you can get a brand new Lariat ER for like 64. And
Yep.
so the resale value of my truck has dipped all the way down to like 50 because I now have 35,000 and I'm a used Lightning because the new market has adjusted itself down to where realistically it needs to be. I think the Lightning's starting to get to a sweet spot. They need to get pros profitable and get those in mass quantity because that's going to
Yeah.
be the highest demand
Well,
vehicle.
that's another reason. That's another reason, Josh, why I picked the Rev, because I think the hybrid's still going to be too expensive with all the extra cost.
Yeah.
But you can bet that Stellantis is paying attention to this market of a
Yep.
full battery electric vehicle, and if they can get right in there between what the Lariats are selling for and what the RST is going to sell for in the Chevy, they're gonna sell some trucks.
300-mile range at $50,000 is going to sell all day, every day. But you have to figure out how to make that profitable. The Pro has been in such high demand, and it's still in high demand because $40,000-$50,000, and those are, I think the standard range ones I think are 49 now. Am I correct?
Yep.
But even then, I mean, those are just it's way more affordable than a $90,000 a truck, which is where. I mean, they raised the Lariat ER up to 87. I'd hate to be the guy that paid 87 for a Lariat ER, and then the next day they drop it down. Just like you bought a Tesla Plaid for 120 and they drop a Tesla Plaid price down to like what, 85, 87.
Yep.
It's like a $25,000, $30,000 bath that you took just because Tesla dropped the
I bid on one
in.
of those today at auction, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy it. You're gonna see a Plaid before long on my house.
And don't think that Stellantis doesn't know electric. What a lot of people don't understand, and because we work in all fields of EVs, Stellantis has a huge share and a huge involvement in the Archer aircraft. So they know what they're doing with this. So when they come out to market, they're going to have the ability, whatever they present, it's going to have more time behind it, more technology, just because they've not entered that market yet. And it's going to be I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. Obviously, I'd probably still stay with Ford because I'm a big Ford guy, but
Me too.
I would like to see what it looks like.
For Ford having been basically the pioneer of the field, they've done a spectacular job. I'm not complaining about my truck at all. We've done nothing but nerd out about the Lightning. I wish it charged faster, but at the same time, they have a very, for the product that it is, you get 100,000 miles and have 97% battery efficiency. That's a pretty darn good system with no maintenance other than tires. There's nothing I can complain about.
Yeah, I own 2 of them, and we're going to continue to be a Ford family. I'm just doing this Rev for reasons on road trips. It'll be my road trip vehicle to tow unless the T3 gets released earlier.
Yeah, I think
somehow don't feel like it's going to be with their recent announcements. I think we're going to look at 26 probably.
Yeah, at least.
But yeah. Well, we didn't really get to talk about the Mach-E today, but we have been an hour, so we probably should wrap up for the day. We will come back again next week, and we can kind of continue the conversation talking about the Mach-E and some of the other updates happening.
Yeah.
Martin, it's a pleasure as always. We want to have you back on as you progress through the storyline of the
Sure.
rebuild of this. And if you get images and things, you can share them to us and we can add those into our content as we post. So if you have the original images, send that to me and I will put those into this video. And then we can kind of follow that journey as you progress through this rebuild. So.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm hopefully dropping a video today or tomorrow on this whole trip going and coming, so you'll be able to see that process. So
go to Martin Rebuilds on YouTube and watch the video.
Fantastic.
I know I am. So
all right,
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Awesome. Well, this has been another episode. Tune in next week for more EV news and updates. See you then.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Turn Down for What. Tune in next week for more EV news and updates. See you then.